Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to another episode of Jacob Walks Over a Bridge. I'm Jacob, currently walking over a bridge, and I must tell you I had an awful nightmare last night. I was going to walk over a bridge, and I was going to record an episode, and I couldn't get the intro right. I kept saying something like, good morning, good afternoon, I'm Jacob, this is Jacob, I'm walking on a bridge. Nothing came out right, and I think I just gave up and called it quits and didn't record the episode and didn't cross the bridge. You can imagine how scary that was. I'm happy to say that I got it right this time. And I'm here with you again for my last bridge walk of the year. Not the season. I think I got one more left. The weather's definitely cooperating. It's a lovely, low 50s, late morning on a late December day. Definitely a little, every time you have unseasonably warm weather, it's always a little disconcerting about the state of the world. But for now, I'm enjoying the nice weather. That's all I could say. The good temperatures. Don't have to wear a heavy jacket outside. Just relax. Maybe I'll find a good place in Queens to stop and read a book. Who knows, But it's New Year's Eve day. And what am I doing but doing a walk like I do every day, it seems. On the Queensboro Bridge this morning. It's after a string of pretty awful days, just not really raining. There's some rain, a lot of fog, haze, overcast skies every day. It's finally turning into a nice looking day. See some blue over there, mostly cloudy, but it's just nice to be outside. And I'm walking to Queens from Manhattan. Going to stop at a few places I've got in mind. First up is IKEA. I'm going to walk along Queens Boulevard to get there. I want to pick up some muesli, but also probably not the best thing to be doing given the current state of the way the virus has been moving around. But I'm going to be going to a party tonight. I've been assured that everyone there is vaxxed and boosted, whatever that's worth these days, but I'm taking a risk. I'm just a big old risk taker these days. I'm walking around outside without a mask on. Still wear a mask inside most places. Still doing that, but I feel like last year, before I got vaccinated, I guess up until early May this year, I was walking around outside all the time, everywhere with a mask on, and I do see people now walking around outside with masks, and especially if they're in a crowded area like where I live, essentially Times Square, which is a nightmare today. But I'll see people outside wearing masks, and I understand why they're doing it. It's probably a good idea, especially now that the weather's getting theoretically colder. But I feel that now, because I spent so much time wearing it outside last year, especially when a lot of other people are not, I don't know, I just feel like I've earned this. At this point, why not? Let me walk around outside without a mask. Maybe next year I can reassess, and once they go further down the Greek alphabet, maybe that'll be more necessary. I still haven't bitten the bullet and bought the disposable KN95 or whatever masks. More and more people are wearing those, which I guess is good. I'm still wearing the cloth masks I've assembled, though I have started to put in filters again. I don't have any official filters. I've been using coffee filters. But, again, that's more of a March 2020 hack than anything else, but it worked this long. Which also is a bad way of looking at things, because obviously things can change. And just because it's worked for me in the past, I could just have been lucky. So, in the end, I mean, who knows anymore? No one knows who's, now even the CDC is going against probably its best interest and trying to get the economy going, and who knows who's influencing who to say what. Just what a time to be alive. Just been saying that more and more. What a time. It does feel really, I mean, as bad as it seems that, the world is overheating and we're all gonna die, these sorts of days are nice, especially because of Poopgate. I missed some of the prime walking days in September and October, especially for getting out there and exploring the city, seeing people, and so this is just making up for a little bit of lost time. It feels like that anyway. Not like I've really lost time. I was talking about this with someone the other day. It feels like we, especially as a young person like myself. I mean, I'm still a spry 28. I hope I have many more moons left to see. But it feels like when this started, I was a wee lad of 25 or no 26. Who even knows anymore? It's 26. But some of the prime of my life, these are the days I could have been literally exploring the world. I was traveling and had plans for 2020 to go do some more international adventuring, but alas, those plans were thwarted by COVID and lost opportunities to do other things, hang out with friends in the city, go to new restaurants, do things indoors. A lot of things just didn't happen the way I wanted them to. And it feels a bit like, part of our lives have been stolen. And I know I don't have it as bad as other people. Especially, those who are really, like ones in college, high school, other school. The isolation's probably killer. I mean, everyone's had it rough. I mean, I look at people like who may have already settled down with a family. It's like, oh, they had it the best. In my mind, the grass is always greener. I think they already got their team assembled, their lives together. And this is just them weathering the storm. Whereas they see it as I'm a free agent, I don't have to worry about anyone else but myself. Whereas they have to, worry about teaching their kids, homeschool. They have to worry about their kids and the rest of their family, not getting them infected, worrying about all this other stuff. So it's always a grass is always greener sort of thing. I guess it's just taking up everyone's life. No one has not had their lives upended by this, it seems, at this point. And it doesn't seem like we're ever going to go back to what the old normal was. Every time they threaten to send everyone back to the office, not my company has been more of a just do whichever you want sort of thing, which has been nice. But for those larger companies that are like, oh yeah, everyone's back in January, Omicron had something to say about that. So it's probably just going to keep cycling, things are going to spike, things will go down, the companies will say, oh, time to go back in, and then things will spike, they'll say, oh, push back, so on and so forth. I'm sure there will come a time where either, the virus mutates to the point where it's not as lethal as it is now, and more people either are vaccinated or just have immunity, and we reach, I guess the mythical herd immunity that renders the virus just a nuisance more than a perpetual threat. At that point, maybe then we could think about going back to our desk jobs all day, every day. But it always seems like that's just so far in the future. It's hard to remember a time when it seems like with most conflicts in human history, it's like, oh yeah, this is going to be much shorter than it actually turns out to be. I think World War I was a famous one where everyone was going to be home by Christmas, that first year, and then I went a few more years after that. When this pandemic started, it was 15 days to stop the spread, and then it was 30 days to stop the spread, and then they stopped with those fun slogans because that would become like 6 months to stop the spread would be 3 years to stop the spread, which just sounds a little too depressing. Definitely not. that was not effective. In the end, maybe it was effective. Maybe some people were saved by those exercising caution. So yeah, it could have been a lot worse. That is true. Probably would have been a lot worse if people hadn't been taking extra steps for caution in those early days. Now people just don't care. More places than others care more than others, I'll say that. It'll be a nice day when I can walk into a store, not worry about taking out the mask in my pocket, not worrying about someone coughing next to me. I feel like if I ever cough in public, I'm always one step away from becoming a pariah. Being, it's almost like being a leper. You cough, you're outside the camp. I always feel like I either have to do it as discreetly as possible. I'm sure someone, like, not COVID, just swallowed the wrong way. Because now with Omicron, some of the more common symptoms are just like a cold. Not necessarily coughing and respiratory stuff like that, but like sneezing and headaches and all that other stuff. So definitely every morning I wake up and I do kind of a self-diagnostic just to see how I'm breathing, how everything else is feeling. Though that also is not always accurate, because there'll be days where I wake up feeling like death itself, and then you give me 20 minutes out of bed after I've gone to the bathroom, after I've eaten breakfast, and things start to feel a little better. It's an odd thing, Excuse me. That was a big yawn. Where was I? Self-diagnostic. And aside from the days where I've panicked myself into thinking that I had it, for the most part I've come up clean. I have I guess thanks to all the other measures in place, I haven't been real sick in a while. There was that one day I got bad food poisoning for a weekend from some Thai food. That was fun. So I was just, that whole weekend I was just like, is this COVID? Like, I definitely knew it wasn't COVID because I'd memorized the symptoms by that point. It was September, so like early September last year, 2020. And I pretty much had memorized the symptoms, and I knew that what I was experiencing was not COVID related. And I think it was obviously you can't tell what gave you food poisoning unless you only eat one thing that day. But I have a pretty good suspicion that it was the food that I ate from the Thai restaurant. It was a Thai place it's one of the best ones in Manhattan anyway. I wouldn't try competing against Queens. Queens is a whole special breed of you get most ethnic food in Queens is the best in the city, save for maybe Italian food. Or maybe the bagels are better some other places, but if you want most other good food, it's probably in Queens. Okay, there are other places that have better food. Historically, people have moved to from other places. I'm not gonna completely show my Queens bias or relent to it. Oh, well, I've made it to the Queens side. Relatively uneventful. Not as I mean, it's the winter, but it's a nice day, so maybe I expected more people to be out on the bridge. There's the occasional biker. Haven't seen too many runners or people walking past me or the other way. These are the reasons why I love walking. It's just that you get this whole space to yourself. So few people take advantage of the bridges in the city for walking, because everyone's taking the subway. But you really don't realize how small the city is until you actually try to walk and you realize, oh, I just did this whole thing in a day. There are much bigger cities out there, land use wise. New York just compacts everything to make it the biggest small city, or the smallest big city, whichever way you want to say it. If you take the subway everywhere, the city seems huge. The subway takes an hour to get somewhere and you feel like you've just traversed the entire continent. Whereas if you walk it, it might take longer than taking the subway, but it's the perspective of it all. On the subway, you just feel like you're going further. It's just a whole hassle to begin with, and that adds to the stress and to the perception that you're going a further distance away. Whereas, like today, I'm going to walk through 3 different boroughs just because I can. That's why I do everything I do in my life, because I can. Not because I should. If I did everything I should instead of the things just that I could, my life would have turned out a lot differently. But the bridges are, the main connector of everything in the city. You see people driving, if you take an Uber somewhere, you would drive over the bridges. But even biking, obviously, as I'm not someone who bikes, I wouldn't be one to talk about how you feel when you bike and how large or small the city feels. But I feel like it's probably very similar to walking, where you get to see the land pass in front of you. You can get a good feeling of where you are in the city. You're not underground the whole time. So in that case, I'd say biking is, people do bike over bridges. But what percentage of New Yorkers bike, right? Not as high as you think, especially when we're in cities. No one's Amsterdam, but such a small percentage of people ever go over a bridge and walking or biking at capacity that it's just your little secret. People don't. I remember I've taken people over bridges who thought they would take the whole day to cross. This isn't the Tappan Zee Bridge, excuse me. Like the Queensboro Bridge, it's long. It's going to take 20 to 25 minutes. It's not going to take an hour and a half, 2 hours. People don't understand that because they have never walked anywhere. And I have the benefit of growing up being used to walking everywhere in just a small town that translated to walking everywhere in the big town. So I've got that history, but other people don't even have that. I never took the bus to school growing up. I was always walking. We lived too close to all the schools. The school bus company wouldn't pick us up. So, if it was raining, we took a car. We would get a ride, but if not, we were walking. Walking through the heat, through the cold. Snow on the ground, didn't matter. Just walking. I'm not going to say, that's character. It definitely made me more willing to walk other places, just because that was what I was used to. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm yawning. Well, I guess I woke up a little early this morning. Couldn't fall back asleep, so I'm up, so. probably not going to get much sleep tonight. I mean, New Year's party, there's no leaving until at least midnight. And given how I now live in the center of the universe that is, theater district, Times Square, all that, I probably should give myself a buffer of at least an hour or two to avoid the huge crowds leaving the area. Thankfully, if I swing it right, I'll be able to take the train. Maybe after some connecting trains, assuming that all the trains are running smoothly tonight, I should be able to get to the stop that's right by my building. So I don't have to worry too much about crowds other than the trains. I've only taken trains around New Year's Eve, midnight time once, and that was 2 years ago now when I was going to meet a woman I was trying to see. Ended up getting ghosted, and that was a sad time. I probably have talked about this before, but that was a sad time. What's this guy doing? What the hell the bike? The sooner they add a dedicated pedestrian lane to the Queensboro Bridge, the better, because people don't know what they're doing, and it's not great. That night I was in Brooklyn, got ghosted, ended up just going back to Manhattan then after midnight, and got on the train all well enough, and then the train went from Brooklyn to Manhattan, and then that was it. Everyone was piling in. It's amazing to think about how little we cared about how close everyone. Everyone cared. No one wanted to be a sardine, but I guess worried about the health benefit, the health detriments. That wasn't as top of mind as they are now. But everyone was packed in there. Everyone had their 20/20 glasses. They had their little hats and their streamers and whatever else. I think Planet Fitness is the big New Year's. They got the New Year's resolution thing going. So of course they're hyping up New Year's. Everyone had their Planet Fitness branded things. That's what I remember most about that. I don't know if I wasn't really paying attention much of that. I was just pissed off at the world for how that night went. And then we met up again 2 weeks later, and she saw me, essentially ended it. So for the best, that was probably wasn't destined for a great relationship, but at the time I was very upset. With that, I'm nearing the end. I'm making my final descent into Queens. I have an idea for what I'm going to do for the last episode. It's going to be a bridge I've never done before in the city. Wow, imagine that. I mean, there still are a few bridges I haven't done. Most of them are the small ones, but I think this one is going to have, it's a bridge of some importance, which you'll see. Maybe I'll do my due diligence and actually research the bridge I'm walking over just to give you an idea of why I chose to walk over it. It's not one of the big ones. I've done all the big ones already. Brooklyn, Manhattan, Williamsburg, Queensboro, Washington, GW. Those are the big ones, at least in my mind. Still, one of these days, I'd love for them to close a tunnel for me to walk through. Not as exciting as going over a bridge. I don't think I have the clout yet to make that happen. Maybe season 4 will hit it big, and I'll get some sponsor that is able to work some magic, and maybe even the city can sponsor me. Hey, New York City, new mayor, new official podcast. I'm here for it. Eric Adams, contact my people. Hey, my people is me. The day I have people will be the day I quit my day job and just walk over bridges for a living. I think on that note, I'm going to conclude this episode with a hearty good day and good night.